Good morning, Malta and Gozo, and welcome to another edition of Lovin Daily. I'm your host, Jonathan Chilia, joined by my co-host, Yannick Poch, and here are your 5 headlines for today. A veteran police officer has been charged with raping a woman in Aura he was meant to help. Malta's environment minister has suggested a radical but painful solution for Malta's pencil building problem. The Nationalist Party has proposed opening a new ferry route to Greece and Italy. Malta's army has been ordered to pay $178,000 in compensation to the family of a soldier who died during a military drill, and rower Steve Katkuti becomes the second Maltese person ever to row across the Atlantic. Now, stay tuned to the end of today's episode because we've got a very special interview with the director of Hand in Hand School, Chris Vassallo, so definitely stay tuned for that. It's going to be very, very interesting. But before that, let's hit into the first story. A shocking story, right, Yannick, from the news yesterday. I mean, I think you probably saw it. Many people were discussing it online. A police officer, a police sergeant who's been on the force for 18 years has been arrested and charged with raping a woman that had actually called the Aura police station for help after being robbed. So this case happened on the 16th of April in Aura, and the officer, Glenn Karabot, allegedly had responded to the call, went to her residence to provide her assistance, and apparently during this visit committed the crime. Shockingly, there seems to be footage of the crime on his mobile. It came out in court yesterday. Now, he was not granted bail, so Karabot has been remanded in custody, but I don't know about your social media, but my social media was full of people discussing the case who were saying, listen, how dare you, plaster his face everywhere. He's innocent until proven guilty. We don't know the full facts. Whereas I had other people also saying, my God, a police sergeant, a police officer, someone who was a UN peacekeeper in Kosovo for a few years as well, could be, involved in such a case. What did you make of this, Yannick?
Yeah, it is shocking. I mean, as you said, everyone's innocent until proven guilty, so there must be that element of caution. But it's definitely a story that doesn't help the police's image, so hopefully it can be resolved as quickly as possible. We'll definitely be following this case, so stay tuned and look out for updates on Lovin Malta. On to our second story. Environment Minister Arun Farrugia has proposed a radical but painful potential solution to Malta's problem with pencil buildings. By pencil buildings, we mean tall blocks of apartments constructed in streets with low-lying homes, which we can all agree are a massive eyesore. Speaking during an interview on Sharabank yesterday, Farrugia suggested implementing a system that would see people only able to increase the height of their buildings if the entire street agrees to do the same. Obviously, the proposal would be a controversial one, but the minister has suggested that it's just a suggestion at this point, but he wants to see a more mature discussion about development in Malta.
I mean, it's good to see that the minister is getting back to policy. Just a couple of days ago, he was caught up in a Twitter spat with a satirist, dropping yo mama jokes online for everyone to see. So it is very, very good to see the environment minister getting back to policy. And I'd like to see, what people think of this policy. Abroad, places like Holland, for example, they have specific policies in place, making sure that if you do have these kind of tall, skinny buildings, they are, in sympathy with the area and all the residents are in agreement with it. So it will be very interesting to see where this policy develops. Moving on to the next story, another proposal coming from the Nationalist Party this time. The PN has proposed starting off some ferry routes to Italy and Greece, specifically Genova and Livorno, which are in northern Italy, as well as Naples in southern Italy, and the port of Piraeus in Greece. They said this would be, opening the gateway to the Eastern Mediterranean for Maltese people. Shadow Tourism Minister Robert Arrigo said, and it wasn't only those proposals, there was also a proposal for something happening in Malta, a fast ferry between Gozo and Baharicha. So clearly the PN are looking at, some transportation models that they might see to kickstart the tourism industry.
I think using the sea more for transport might make sense. I'm not sure I'd choose to take a ferry to Greece.
It's a bit of a long ride.
Yeah, it's a bit of a long ride to spend on a ferry. But as a general rule, I think as an island, it makes a lot of sense for us to use the sea more. Our next story, the Armed Forces of Malta has been ordered to pay €178,000 to the family of a young soldier who died as a result of an army training exercise back in 2009. Matthew Psyla had died 3 days after the early morning exercise in which he was ordered to enter the freezing cold water at Chadwick Lakes in the early hours of a February morning. Psylla was recovered. He spent 10 minutes under the water and then another 20 minutes unconscious in the ambulance before he was eventually taken to hospital and treated. Despite claims that Psylla could not swim, the court yesterday determined that the AFM held at least 80% of the responsibility for the young soldier's death.
You know, it's a very shocking case. I mean, look, let's be real. Army soldiers, you know, when you're training them, the training's going to be a bit tough.
Yeah.
You can expect these kind of like military drills at night in water. However, when you look at the details of this case, there are some shocking things that come out. For example, something that jumped out to me was the fact that the commander-in-chief at that time said that health and safety was not a priority, which is very shocking to me. If you've got soldiers in training, underwater, freezing conditions, in the middle of the night, early morning, health and safety should probably be a priority. The family of the soldier took to Facebook yesterday, the uncle actually, Martin Bugelli, and he said, quote, "While no amount of money can ever bring back what we lost, the decision by the court that the army were to blame for 80% of the accident is at least some justice." So at least, you know, the family are having a little bit of consolation with this decision. Moving on to the final story, a very positive story actually. After 51 days out at sea, Steve Ketkuti has rowed across the Atlantic Ocean and arrived at French Guiana. Now that is a 6,000 kilometer journey across the open ocean in a rowboat. So Ketkuti is now only the second person ever, a Maltese person ever to do such an incredible journey. He uploaded a video which we're going to show to you very shortly, thanking people for the support. I can't even imagine, 52 days at sea. He left from Portugal, arrived at French Guiana, rowing, and now obviously he did a lot of training for this, and the reason he did this is actually quite an emotional one. 2 years ago, Ketkuti lost his older brother, Michael, to cancer, so he decided he wanted to raise some funds by doing this incredible task, and the money will be going to the Swiss Cancer League. You know, in supporting them in their fights against cancer. But wow, just, you know, from everyone at Lovin Malta, shout out to you, Steve. This is an incredible journey that you undertook for such a great cause.
No, it's an inspiring story. I mean, I can't imagine myself spending more than one day in a
rowboat, let alone 52.
So congratulations and well done.
So before we jump into the interview with Chris today from Hand in Hand, we're just going to cut to a video of Steve Ketkuti at the end of his journey. Check it out, it's quite a watch.
Okay, so Steve here across row. It's been around 51 days since we left from Portugal, and we've just got here to French Guiana. We're heading to the marina just down there. That's our final end point. I can tell you it's been pretty brutal. The first weeks were quite hard, but yeah, great experience, great team. Glad to have done it. Glad to have managed to collect some money for a different number of charities. So yeah, finally made it.
So here we are back in the Lovin Malta offices with Chris Vassallo, Director of Hand in Hand. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Let's kick it off with happy birthday, Lovin Malta. Well done. You guys do something that us as Maltese people we really owe you. People like you help us have a good democracy on the island, and as a parent of 4 children, keep it up, guys. Keep it up.
We really appreciate that coming from you, especially because the reason I wanted to speak to you today is because you are doing an incredible thing yourself. And it's got quite a refreshing and positive approach to a very important sector. So before we get into the details, for those who do not know, what is Hand in Hand exactly?
All right. I am part of a team of 22 people today. Actually, there's 22 people and me. I'm the least qualified. We are at Hand in Hand. We're a small autism center in Rabat. Hand in Hand was created after a need. I am a father of 4 kids. My third child, Zain, changed my life and showed me the world of autism, which was a world I was not aware of, and that has exploded my world with emotions and happiness and sadness and lows and highs and lows. That brought us to do 2 years in the UK, in an autism center in the UK, which meant ripping our life, just going, me, my wife, and my 3 kids, getting my other 2 kids out of school with all the drama and everything. And we went to the UK. Before that, we were looking at therapy locally on the island when Zayn was only 2 years old, in terms of therapy, what we should be doing. After a long research, myself and my wife, we were looking for something which was proven, which was evidence-based, which was scientific, and the only therapy which was financed by the insurance company in the US, done in all northern countries in Europe. As the primary therapy was ABA therapy, known as applied behavior analysis, not to get too technical. It's basically a scientific way of approaching therapy. And rather than remove autism or try to change the student, what you try to do is allow the student to have the tools enough tools in life to deal with the extra challenges autism brings to the table, but also allow to reach your full potential. So we were doing it with a local partner when we started off, and now the local partner 2 years ago moved abroad, moved to Australia, and we were left a bit stranded. And from that we rebuilt, and today there's a beautiful team of 22 therapists. To be part of Hand in Hand, you need to have a minimum degree in psychology. That's why I am not there. Run by an amazing clinical director, a Maltese clinical director, had moved to the UK. Today is finishing off a PhD in autism, has a master's in ABA and a BCBA, which is the highest qualifications you can get in wherever we are. And she moved back to Malta in order to help us grow the center. That's backed up with three other clinical directors, one of them coming from Liverpool, one of them coming from Ireland, and the latest one coming from Gozo. So we're purely international. And then there's all the clinical team, Paula, Agatha. We have some really amazing people. Matthew just joined, Neville. These people are dedicate their life. All our therapy is one-to-one. And they get in a situation thrown where kids would have had a challenge, and society, unfortunately, is not capable of molding and allowing these children to reach their full potential, and they come to us, and together with the families, including the parents, the siblings, and the grandparents, because we're very lucky, we get a lot of grandparents to help us. These people dedicate their life to help them one-on-one, all the scratches, all the throwing, but that is backed up by all the smiles and all the hugs and the little achievements we appreciate every day.
It sounds like it's been quite a journey to get to where you are today. So, it was when it affected your personal family that you saw firsthand that, listen, there's a bit of a space here where the services are a bit lacking, right?
Yes. In general, in terms of society, it shouldn't be that we are opening the center. The first principle we created Hand in Hand was for Hand in Hand not to exist. Because in all things being equal, our children and our children going through these journeys should be able to access all this therapy while they're in mainstream. So I don't know about you, but when I was younger, I had a challenge with a certain subject while I was in my mainstream school. What the school had done back then, and today I'm 40 years old, asked me to miss one of the lessons, I'm not going to say what it is, but I just did, in order to focus on my O-level subject, which I needed. So I used to step out of the lesson, go to an extra lesson, and improve my ability on that particular subject. With autism, unfortunately, parents are strapped by picking up kids from their mainstream schooling, then driving another hour to get another center, then get an hour therapy there, then driving an hour back. While this could be easily solved by having centers within mainstream schools and also helping. So this sounds very simplistic from my end, so there's a lot of complications to do that. But what a real big plus would be is allowing our teachers to be trained and giving them enough tools, and our LSCs who every day do incredible work, to be able to be trained enough to handle the situation that they're dealt with. So our aim is not to exist. So hopefully in the future Hand in Hand doesn't exist. And also that we help our kids, give them every option in the world to reach their full potential. As a parent, that's what I want to do with all my 4 kids. And as an organization, as Hand in Hand is coming along, all our people are driven to allow our kids to reach their full potential. All the challenges, we'll deal with them, we'll give them more tools to deal with them. If it's about screaming, it's about scratching, we'll give them their tools to deal with that, but we're not trying to change our children. Our children are special enough, and we should be the ones changing, not our kids.
No, I love your approach, honestly I do. So can you just paint what a typical day in these kids' lives looks like in Hand in Hand?
in hand. Today, besides the 22 people working there, we service around 60 families already. That varies from full-time students. We have over 15 students who are full-time. That means they get there at 9 and they leave at 2 every day. And then we have families which come in for a few hours in the weekends, and we go to their house, we go to their parties. Wow. We try to as much as we can accommodate our families. It's a huge responsibility that we can't help everyone, and the team, that's why the team keeps growing. And anyone interested in stepping into this world, please go on Hand in Hand Facebook and drop us a message. We have a limitation that a person has to have a minimum degree in psychology, which allows us then to train you to work one-to-one. But a typical day is every program is designed around every child. So the first few weeks when we work with the child, it's just play. We just sit down on the floor, play. Even the assessments when people come to us, we have a small living room, a TV, different toys and sofa, and we're playing together with the child. Why that is happening, an understanding of the child is happening. The first question we ask is, where does your child excel? It's not the negative comes, unfortunately, from a person's story. Every time you go to a specialist, before was, so what's the problem?
Wow.
Rather than that is, so where does your child excel? So we have one particular child, he's a brilliant trampolinist, like you've never seen. This guy can do magic tricks. So first we started off all the therapy. So out of the 5 hours a day, we would have spent 3 hours on the trampoline and dealing with it and seeing how we do it. Parents at his house would have had 2 trampolines, 4 mattresses. It is unbelievable, that side of the world, what parents do to help their kids. But from that today, he's capable of coming to our center every day and only spending 20 minutes on the trampoline. Because now we've worked on transition, we've worked on token economy, helping him understand that besides the trampoline satisfaction, he can also get other satisfactions. And so every program is designed. So the first thing is play. It's based on play. Basically what we're doing is while we're doing play, we're also doing a lot of one-to-one, which is what we're doing us together. And once we have certain goals for every 15 minutes of every hour, we try to achieve mastery criteria of every development goal we're after. Data is taken, so if my issue is I talk too fast, someone would be taking data how fast I was talking, and then we work together on reducing that softly, and that is data is taken, and decision to move on is not an opinion. The decision to move is a scientifically backed by the fact that data is taken regularly, and once we hit 80% criteria over a number of times, we will be able to move to the next step. And then we have some amazing stories that out of the blue with autism, there's a lot of non-verbal challenges which are associated as well. Then we have some amazing stories. Kids come in, and after a few months, they just start talking, and some of them have been caught on Facebook, and one of our biggest supporters actually caught it on Facebook, her daughter the first time, talking, just leaving Hand in Hand, saying, and the mother always asking, how was Hand in Hand? She said, today it was really nice. and it was amazing. We have some really kids, parents calling us, I just slept the whole night last night. And my son slept in his bed. Amazing. Thank you. That never happened, because we'd have structured everything in place.
It sounds like you have quite a clear vision and process that's mixing both the scientific data as well as being caring.
Yes.
And actually relating to these people as people. So you've mentioned the bachelor's degree. Why is it so important for you to have such a high level of employee?
People who do psychological degree happen to be awesome. No, I'm trying to fool you as much as I can. No, that is the process we follow. This is not decided by us. The ABA training is based on, it's an international standard, and that is the main minimum requirement. There are areas where people have worked for a few years in a separate field which is related to autism, and which are acceptable, but the main criteria, if people have a degree in psychology, the whole training course becomes much easier, because it's all about how the brain works. So I've been in it for the last 5 years. Trust me, I'm the least person can talk about in terms of the psychological view, but having the academic degree makes it everything easier, and how to understand the development and what is the next step.
Now, approaching the end of the interview, what are some of the biggest challenges you're facing right now as far as Hand in Hand goes?
So part of why I got into this. So when we got to know about our new world, which was autism and all the research tells you straight away you need to start as soon as possible. So every time I talk to parents and anytime I can push a message out is, please start as soon as possible. So as soon as you have an inkling, a worry, parents always know. Parents always know that there's a problem. Ask for help, whether it is hand in hand or any of the experts on the island, please ask for help. Because therapy is about helping kids develop. It's not about changing kids. So there is no harm that something that can be done. So evidence-based is the most important, early intervention is the most important cue I want to get out. That includes the parents, that includes the siblings, and that includes the grandparents as well. I keep grandparents, because we've seen some amazing stories with grandparents coming in. One of the biggest reasons why we got into it, myself and my wife and my kids, including my daughter Kelly, who works there as well, who was the receptionist when you come in, including Ty, who was the sibling who became an expert, is that there's a huge social injustice. Where is the social injustice coming from? So today, how things stand, if you have money, most of this therapy is paid privately. So from experience, we've seen families, including myself, anywhere costing therapy from 300 euros a month up to 2,000, 3,000 euros a month, wow, which is not funded by government. Yes, there are government structures, but you'll see a therapist once every 3 months. So that is unrealistic. When our kids need 20, 25, 30 hours a week of intensive therapy one-to-one, you need to start early, so the future impact is much less. The difference between the scientific data shows the difference between a child starting early at the age of 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, doing the 20, 30, 40 hours a week, by the time they are 21, the difference is 80% in terms of development, in terms of less challenges. What does 80% look like? Now, I talk to you as a parent. That a child could have the opportunity to have a friend. A child could have the opportunity to have a girlfriend. A child could have the opportunity to work. A child could have the opportunity to live on their own.
There you go.
So in terms of the impact and the government cost, the long-term societal cost of helping a child with autism in the future, our children and people on the spectrum live till a long life of 80, 85 years anyway. So in terms of the investment should be done in the beginning. And the social injustice comes from today, as things stand, people who have money are able to pay. Sorry, I'm going to cry, but I'm not going to cry. People who have money can pay and help. And then those families who come from a challenging background, not like mine, who have limited income in terms of their wages, today they're choosing whether they are helping their son or not, to pay 25 euros an hour therapy, 30 euros an hour therapy. So that social injustice, I feel as a society, and especially with like we've had huge successes with equality rights, like we had huge successes with other areas, I think now it's time as a society we realize that these kids have no fault, because autism is still not understood where it's coming from. There's no one is at fault, and we should help them and us adapt to them, not expect kids to change, to adapt to mainstream schooling. We should be able to help them, and we should be adapting to them. So I hope that made it clear.
No, listen, honestly, Chris, I love what you guys are doing at Hand in Hand. I think it's so important that you're raising awareness, and not kind of like the old, boring kind of awareness where you act like you're trying to do something good, but nothing ever happens. You guys are going forward with data. You're using science, using the best modern approach. So I honestly love what you guys are doing. If someone wants to get in contact with you or reach out to you, where is the best way for them to reach out to you?
Before I get to that, I just want to thank anyone who helps us. So we had incidences where even the Prime Minister stepped in and helped us, and we're really grateful. A parent asked. So obviously with COVID, we were thrown out, we were asked to close when our families don't have options to stay locked in. So, but even unofficially, the Prime Minister stepped in to help and say, can we at least help them? Because these people are essential service. Sometimes we fall into different cracks in terms of bureaucracy, so we need help. We get help from ministers and politicians, and I can mention Miriam Dalli, Rosian Kutaya. These people come in and help without advertising. They're just there to help and understand this world of autism, and I salute you. In terms, and also Justine Kutaya, the Minister today for Education, Clint Camilleri, hopefully we're doing a autism program also in Gozo, because
Wow.
piled up to the complications we have locally. Can you imagine coming from Gozo every day? Can you imagine catching a ship 6 o'clock in the morning to be in Malta by 9 o'clock, to take your son therapy for 2 hours and then go back?
Is there anything in Gozo right now?
We have actually 3 people based in Gozo, and the minister picked it up, and together with the director of Gozo, and they asked us to give them an option, and they are looking at doing it as well, which is unbelievable as well. Because in terms of how many times autism happens in every child being born, the statistics is 1 in 60. Which is a big number. So
it's really big.
It's a huge number, and that happens more when there's islands. So in Malta, the number is actually to be more. Gozo tends to be more as well. So how to get in touch with us is, sorry about that, John, on our Facebook page, Hand in Hand. We're open, we're here to help you. And like I tell all my team and all my parents and all my friends and all my family is, please help us and please push us to do more, because we need to be doing more. So when people tell me good job, I'm not happy with good job. Today we're only starting and we need to be doing more. And thank you for giving me time to explain what we do at Lovin Malta, because you're pushing us to do more.
No, honestly, it's inspirational hearing the dedication and the passion in your voice. We don't hear that from anyone. We don't hear that from everyone who takes on these kind of causes. So to see you in such an important sector, clearly passionate about it, it's very, very heartwarming. So guys, this is not the end of Hand in Hand. Lovin Malta will actually be visiting Hand in Hand very, very soon. So stay tuned on our platforms, because we've got a lot more interesting content on this sector, specifically with Hand in Hand, coming out soon. Thank you once again for joining us today. That brings us to the end of today's episode of Lovin Daily. For myself and the team, have a day full of lovin'.